Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for our first episode of the new iteration, of the Villa View podcast. So this is the Villa View, the pod, with myself hosting Dan Bardell, joined by Chris Dolan and Omar from the Villa Talks podcast. I'm not going to say from the Villa Talks podcast anymore, actually, because you're going to be on this podcast every week with this Omar. So yeah, Omar joins the team for the pod in association with Luke Roper. If you use the code TVV20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off most items. So yeah, episode 1, we're not really 100% sure of the format of this podcast at the moment, so we're just gonna run with it. But Dolan, you okay?
Good, man. Yeah, good. It's good to be back. Good to be back. And yeah, the 9:30 slot's kind of my fault because I'm literally only home from work, and I've had a couple of packets of Tito and a cup of tea from the John McGinn mug. So
yeah,
apologies for the late start. Hopefully the 9:30 start's not too bad for everyone. So yeah, if we can get it, as you say, if we can get it earlier on certain nights, then we may well do that. But no, it's good to be back, man. Good to be back with the pod, and yeah, buzzing for the weekends.
Yeah, thinking about all those Jack Grealish mugs that we sold about 12 months ago now that absolutely nobody probably wants to use anymore. But I'm going to enforce a Jack Grealish ban on this pod, Omar. I don't want anyone to mention his name. We've both got to move on. He's moved on. It's time we moved on as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there goes all my notes, mate. That's all I had in my locker, to be honest. That's all I can talk about. So
no, we've done it. It's been done to death.
No, it's done. No, we've got to move on. Yeah, I tweeted the other day. We just got like the stuff with his unveiling and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, it was funny they didn't win the Community Shield, but he's not our player anymore. I don't really care. I'll be honest. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, a little bit, but I've lost any sort of association I had with him, any sort of emotional attachment. I wish him the best and all that good stuff, but yeah, it's all about Villa, and that's all that matters going forward.
Yeah, that's that. So let's draw a line under it and focus on the players that we've got. Dolan made a friendly against I knew I was going to get the name wrong. Salernitana, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Someone will probably be correcting me in the live chat right now. Villa won 3-1 despite going behind. And the main thing we want to start with this week is formation, because it looks like Villa are going to be playing 4-4-2 with the two main men, Ings and Watkins, paired together up front. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, everything we've tried to play 4-4-2, even under Bruce, like we never really had the kind of the right players to play to play that way. Then we dabbled a little bit with Davis last season. Davis and Watkins, he came on and made an impact. You look at West Brom and the Fulham game, and he turned it on its head. But I always prefer us. I personally prefer us with the one up top, and then the two sort of like that sort of 4-3-3 type thing. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a formation that we've never really played, but then we've never had players like Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins up top together. But it'll be interesting. I think we'll be quite fluid. I think now we have the squad to be able to play in whatever way suits us and whatever way suits our opponents, essentially. So I think now with the strength and depth we have, we may see different kinds of formations because we have the players to switch it about. But I think you almost kind of bringing Ings in, you can't drop him, and then you can't drop Watkins for the season he had last season. So either we've got to play 4-4-2 by default, or you move Watkins out wide. But then you're kind of bringing away what we saw of Watkins last season, and I thought he was absolutely outstanding up top. So I think we'll go with the 4-4-2, but there'll definitely be it'll evolve over the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Omar, Dean Smith's never really played 4-4-2 in his managerial career either, has he?
No, not really. He's sort of stuck to that 4-3-3 even for Villa, really. Either 4-2-3-1 or a natural sort of more 4-3-3 with three midfielders and 2 8s. So it'd be interesting to see. I was quite surprised at the Ings signing, as we all were. I expected someone more like Tammy, or maybe someone a bit more akin to Watkins, maybe a more of a younger version, or someone a bit more potential. But Ings is already made. He's 29 years old. He hasn't come here to sit on the bench. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I watched a lot of Southampton last year, and they played Ings and Che Adams a lot together. and Ings would normally be the support striker or would drift out wide, and Che Adams would be the one on the shoulder. So I imagine that's what we will see for Villa. But they can do either job. I think that's the flexibility Dolan talks about. We've got to be a bit fluid. Bailey and Buendia, you imagine, will be on the wings, and they can both come inside. Although Bailey does like to stay out wide, Buendia obviously likes to come in from the right hand side. So I expect us to be fairly fluid. I can only really see us play a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 type formation. I can't really see us play a 4-3-3, to be honest, because I don't think we can fit the players in unless we play Buendia as a number 8 or like a number 10. But then the question marks arise around the midfield for me. Have we got a strong enough midfield 2 for the Premier League? I'm not too sure. Against certain teams, yeah, definitely. But I think for majority of teams, I think that is the weakness for us right now. We saw that against in the preseason. I know it's preseason, and Salernitana or Salernitana, however you say it.
Sultana. None of us know how to say it.
They look like Bournemouth to me, the badge, so I'm going to call them the Italian Bournemouth. But they didn't really press us, so it was a difficult one to judge us on. But Ings and Watkins linked up really well. They worked really well together, nice little 1-2s. I can see them doing really well together, but the midfield was a bit stretched at times for me. So I guess we'll see. That is a bone of contention for me, and bone of contention for many Villa fans, I'm sure, with the midfield. But there's great options to have, but a headache for Dean Smith. But like I said, I can't really see him playing anything apart from 2 up front or sort of a 1 and a 1 at the top.
Yeah, because the Ings signing Dolan, as much as we're all happy that he's there, I'm absolutely delighted. He's been one of my favourite players in the Premier League for years. I think probably second to Harry Kane in terms of being the sharpest in front of goal as Premier League strikers now. But it's kind of thrown us a bit because I think everyone just thought, Buendia is going to play on the right, Watkins is going to be through the middle, perhaps Bailey on the left. Now you're throwing Ings in there as well. And Bailey has played more from the right for Leverkusen, and Buendia played more for the right for Norwich. So one of them two is going to be moving.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily see, as Omar was saying, kind of with Buendia, I could see him just coming in, let's see, like for Jack. And then we have that 4-3-3. And then I think if we can get in a real enforcer, because but then we speak about options in the midfield, and you sort of rhyme off the likes of Sanson, McGinn, Luis, Nakamba, Hurahan, just to name a few. We actually do have options. What we don't have is that real kind of, Ndidi type sort of powerhouse in the center of the pitch. Nakamba's got a little bit of that in his locker, but I still think he I still think he's kind of lacking that little bit of quality. Although he was brilliant when he came in last season, and he never put a foot wrong. So he was great in that sense. But I think it'll be interesting. I think this for me is what I've been crying out for is strength and depth and having options up top. It's like
you've wanted another striker for a very long time.
I just think as a top 6, to be a top 6 club, you need to have options off the bench. You need to have strikers. Like, you need to have real options. We'll come on to that, but there was Watkins. There was that thought of Watkins coming off on Sunday, and we don't know how fit he is this week, or if he's going to play. But although that will be a blow, you could just have Dan Ings up top on his own, and there you go, problem solved. And I think that's what we lacked. We were always like, God, what if Jack gets injured? Then we're going to be stuck. What if Watkins and Jack got injured last season? We would have been really, really in the mire. So you look at that top 6 now, top 7. There's just got so many options, and even the likes of Ghazi, who his numbers spoke for themselves. Traore, I think, is going to get better. Trezeguet still got to come back in there. Bedence is, for me, I mean, he's my player pre-season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. That kid looks like a real talent. So you got these players. You got these players in all areas. I think now, looking at the slight lack of depth, would be in our fullback position now. I think we could do with another. We could do with another left back and possibly another right back.
No, I disagree with that.
Just to fill. Well, I mean, who do we have at right back to come in?
Young can kind of play either side. I think Tuanzebe's probably been brought in with the mind of he'll play back at right back. Concer's played right back, hasn't he? Gilbert's still there at the moment.
Gilbert,
I don't think we need. I don't think Gilbert will be here, to be fair, but I don't say that we'll get another fullback. I think that's why they brought Ashley Young in to cover both positions.
Yeah, I just think to have that consistent style of play, I think we need two players in each position of similar ilk, and I just don't think we have that. I don't think we have a real natural fit for Matt Cash if he gets injured. I think Mossy Young can come in and help target, but again, he's 36, 37, so. Personally, I just feel we could do a little bit more cover at fullback, but I think the squad's looking pretty top.
Yeah, we'll come on to transfer window later on in the show, but I do think there'll be one or two through the door, though perhaps one of them might be a little bit last minute. Just thinking back to the system, Omar, out of possession, I think it's kind of out of possession. We were a bit 4-4-2 anyway, weren't we? When Barkley played, he was playing very close to Watkins when we were defending. But it's just those patterns in the attacking way. I mean, it's going to take a few weeks to get to grips. When you lose your key player, who I'm not going to name now, it's difficult because everything's gone through him. But I'd be a little bit worried about maybe having Buendia or Bailey playing on the left hand side, but it's not what they have been doing for the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I guess we'll see. But I think. You're completely right. We were playing like a 4-4-2 almost out of possession, and I think that was a big drop off post COVID. Was obviously some players were affected by COVID. Barkley in particular seemed to be affected by the injury, and his pressing numbers and the pressures he was doing was completely completely flipped on his head really, and made a massive impact on us in terms of being able to press from the front and allowing. I mean, what we were seeing early part of the season was the likes of Watkins, the like of Barkley, Trezeguet as well, Grealish to some extent as well. Pressing from the front, allowing our midfield and defence to organise themselves, which meant that we were so good defensively, which from the previous season we weren't. And then post-COVID, Barkley just wasn't the same player at all. He didn't have the same legs, so it allowed them to play, opposition teams to play through our midfield. What Buendia is excellent at is pressing, and I think
that's going to be an upgrade, isn't it?
Creativity-wise, he's fantastic. He's a match for Jack in terms of creativity, but his pressing is on another level. Compared to any of our wingers, really. And he's done that fantastically well for Norwich, both in Championship and in the Premier League. So I'd be excited to see that. Leon Bailey isn't bad. He's definitely an upgrade on Traore. Isn't as good as Buendia. Watkins, we know what he is. And Danny Ings is fantastic at pressing. Not quite Watkins level, but he's not far off. So I think
he's quick as well. He's quick
and sharp. He's always on the last man. He's always looking for a mistake. I think that's so important. I think that's why, I mean, I'm not too worried about that side of things in terms of defending from the front. What I am worried is once they break the press, what happens then? And which we'll come on to in a second. But Leon Bailey, we talked about earlier, he probably is more comfortable from the right, but actually he's played quite a lot on the left as well for Bayer Leverkusen as well. And the good thing with Bailey, which is quite different to other wingers, is he can play on either side quite comfortably. So most wingers, Al Ghazi likes to play from the left, Trezeguet likes to play from the right, Traore likes to cut in from the right, Buendia likes to play from the right, but Leon Bailey can play either wing quite well, to be honest, and he's comfortable with either wing. So I think that gives us a bit of flexibility as well, because he can go on the outside with his lightning fast pace. He can use his right foot quite well as well. So I think with him as well, we probably will need to give him a bit of time because he has had no pre-season. He's probably going to miss the Watford game. It's going to take him a few games to get into it. So for that reason, I think we probably will be relying on the likes of Buendia if he's fit, Al Ghazi to an extent, Traore who's just come back from injury, and probably why Philogene and Badesio probably will not go out on loan or may go out on loan late in the window, because we probably do need him in and around the squad. Plus he's had as Dolan said, has had such a great pre-season as well.
Yeah, I think he's actually got an outside chance of starting on Saturday at Vicarage Road. It is that midfield, though, Dolan. You've reeled off the list of the players that we have, but it's finding that right partnership. I mean, I think we can all agree that perhaps the strongest one at the moment is Nakamba and McGinn. McGinn has looked better when he's played next to Nakamba, but if we're playing 4-4-2, we're going to need to be a little bit better on the ball. I think in the second half of the season, we did not look after possession as well as we did in the first half of the season at all. And I think McGinn's better in possession than he's given credit for, but, it's not his strongest suit. Nakamba looked a lot more progressive in the friendly on Saturday. Actually, I thought he looked a lot better on the ball and looked a bit more willing to come forward and pass the ball forward. So that was nice to see. There's no real ball player in there, is there? And I think that's a problem when you take into account the physicality and no ball player. I think they're two big things to be missing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be going for your man Anguissa at Fulham. He'd be the one I'd be going for. There's talk today that we're in for again the French league. Is it
Decorah?
Yeah.
Again, I don't know much about him, but I know our scout has. Our scouts have contacts in the French league, and there are some real bargains to be had there. But I'd be going for Anguissa. I think he impressed me massively in quite a poor Fulham side last season. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When we name the list of midfielders that we have, they're all a little bit samey. They're all quite similar in their game. I think we only have kind of one Nakamba, and I think we need an upgrade. We need someone who can come in and be that enforcer. We haven't had that for quite a while. I can't think of the last time we had a real kind of, a real no nonsense CDM.
Karim El Hamidi.
Well,
Yeah,
I still can't think of the last time we had a real.
I can't remember one. I'll be honest.
Boateng was the first one that jumped into my head. I can't think of anyone since him. Jemba. I mean, there's been some classics. There's been some absolute classics over the years.
Rio Coco.
Rio Coco.
It's a good show.
I say he's quite similar to Nakamba.
As is George Boateng, but I suppose actually, do you know what? Mile Jedinak was pretty good at that. If you look at his game in the championship, I just think we're missing. I just think whenever you talk about a top quality CDM, everyone just says Ndidi. So there are players out there, of that caliber that can be bought in. He was bought for next to nothing from what I can remember. I think he was bought from the French league as well, for Leicester. So there are players out there, but it's like I said to you, man, on the phone the other day. I'm very happy going into Saturday with what we have. I think getting Tuanzebe in was massive. I just think we've got strength and depth all across the squad, and to be going into the season only essentially a player short of where we're at to be that kind of all round force. I think we've had again for the second season in a row. I think we've had the best transfer window by some distance. I mean, you look at a lot of the clubs out there that haven't even signed a player. Newcastle, I think, are on the verge of getting Willock, but I think that's their first signing, and he hasn't even come to the door yet. You list off teams, even Watford. I think they've only brought in 2-3 players. One of them being from the lower leagues. One of them came in on loan from Parma, I think, the other day. And I think they got a young Chelsea kid in on loan as well. So we've, again, for the second year in a row, we've been by far and away the most progressive club in the window, and this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it'll be for us under this ownership. This is the way it'll be, and we're only going to get better and better. And I'm happy.
Yeah, Omar, I think. Sorry, Don, you cut out a little bit at the end there. I thought you finished, but I think it was the internet. Omar, did you watch the game at the weekend? There's quite a weird thing going on with the captaincy in that we didn't seem to have one. Conser was the one that walked out with a little pennant. I don't know which one it is that you call it, but no one had the armband. I think we all assumed Tyrone Mings was going to be captain. I'd still be absolutely shocked if he wasn't, but that was a little bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't sure about that. I mean, I think everyone naturally assumed Mings would be captain. I was a bit worried when I saw Conser come out. I thought something happened. But I think maybe they're just waiting for. I was thinking about it actually earlier. I was thinking, why did they do that? But maybe they're waiting for when the team's announced in training. Maybe they'll announce the captain there in front of the players. I think maybe that then they'll announce it to social media. So maybe Dean Smith is taking his time, because you obviously got someone like Ashley Young as well, who's a candidate. Obviously experienced Villa, been at Villa before, experienced player. But will he play regularly? I don't know. Probably not. So Tyrone Mings is the obvious candidate. Martinez is another one. But I imagine they'll probably announce it just before the game. They'll probably want to wait till announce the players at training, and when they announce the lineup, I hope that's the case anyway, rather than anything else. But I can't really see anyone else apart from maybe McGinn is the other option.
But on that, I like I like what Tommy Elphick said in the podcast with you, Dan. Being a captain it's just you're essentially just wearing an armband, and I think what we have, I mean, Omar's just listed off there 4 or 5 players that will all be essentially captains. You know, I think we're building a squad full of leaders, and I think if you look at Jack. Sorry to say his name on the show, but he led by example in terms of his performances. You know, he obviously quite a young captain when he came in, but he was given captain because obviously the whole history behind the club and the fact that he's our best player. So he led from the front in terms of like ability. But you could give it to Mings, you could give it to Martinez, you could give it to McGinn, Ashley Young, Danny Ings. You know, like we've got a lot of really, 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 experienced players, and I think Mings will get it. I think Mings should get it. I think it'll probably be Mings and Ashley Young as vice captain. But I believe whenever Smith first came in at Villa that he wasn't going to maybe have a captain. He isn't.
Yeah, I thought about that the other day.
That sort of captain role. And I think, the fact that he's building a squad full of leaders, I think, as Tommy said a few days ago, it's being a captain's all about just having that armband and just making sure everything's organised in the pitch. But in the modern game, everyone takes responsibility, and I think we've got a really, really solid, close dressing room. So I think it'll be Mings, but it's not something I'm particularly worried about. If it's Konza, then so be it. I'm not particularly worried about it.
Konza has become quite vocal actually on the pitch in the last 12 months. Omar, he's come on a lot in that terms of his development. And I think I'm just thinking back to when we were in the Championship the season we went up. There was a lot of leaders in that squad. We think of people like Whelan, Yedinaku, who weren't wearing the armband, sometimes weren't even on the pitch. It's like Dolan says, Omar. It's Chester. Good to have that Chester. Yeah, Elphick was still there at that time. Hudson. Yeah. It's good to have a lot of people to choose from again, isn't it? And have that team of leaders, because the season we nearly went down, first season back, there weren't many leaders there.
No, there wasn't. No, you're right, completely right. And I think probably another reason why we've signed Ashley Young and probably Danny Ings as well. These are experienced professionals. I imagine they carry themselves really well on the training pitch and are good role models for the younger players as well. Because we have got the youngest squad in the Premier League, or we did have anyway. It's probably got younger now with Heaton and the like leaving, and then Ashley Young and Danny Ings coming in. I still imagine we're pretty much the youngest squad in the league. So it's important you have those leaders on the pitch. We like you said, we didn't see it in that first season back in the Premier League. It probably did need it from time and time again. But I think the most important thing for us, as Dolan's completely right, is making sure we're organised and the people are taking responsibility. And Konza, you've said, he's stepped up his game in that front as well. You see him so many times last season. Marshall in the defence. I think Mings has helped him out massively on that front as well, and sort of even arguing with Martinez at times and stuff like that. Making sure responsibilities he's taken in that defence is probably why we were so good last season as well. We were such an organised defence last season and did so well. So it's a great. I think we're well stacked in that front in terms of leadership, both up front in midfield and in defence. So. I have no worries about that at all. The key really now is just pushing on more than anything else, and whether the leaders on the pitch or on the bench, I don't think it matters too much. I think the important thing is that the squad feel that they've got people to look up to.
Yeah, but stay with you then, Omar. Let's look ahead to the Watford game on Saturday at 3 p.m. a little bit. You told me earlier with great confidence and swagger that you'd done your research on Watford and you knew a fair bit about them. So come on, tell us what you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, as much as you can know about Watford, really, they're always a bit of an unknown quantity. They've been for a while, haven't they? They tend to sign so many players, ship them out on loan to Udinese, and then sign them back up again and get them back in on loan. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I mean, I saw a fair bit of them last season, and really weird season for them. I think they did okay at the beginning, where under the previous manager, they're sort of in the chasing pack, not really in the race for autos, and then they made a change halfway through the season, bringing in Cisco Muniz, and I mean he was I mean, Watford are known to bringing in random managers, but he was a proper random manager. I think he only managed 11 games for Dinamo Tbilisi.
I mean, we must be three of the only people in the country that haven't managed Watford. There
Yeah,
can't be too many knocking around.
And we're probably in the shortlist somewhere, I imagine. I won't be surprised, but it's just a random pick, and he started okay, but then they managed to change it up. I think he changed the formation from 4-4-2 to 4-3-3, and then they went on a long winning run. I think they won the 14 of the last 18 games. And that formation change was a massive part because they suddenly started scoring lots of goals, and they had a decent defense, but the goals started coming. And Ismaili Sarr, who we've been linked with before, and we've been linked with Liverpool as well, was key in that. So I imagine they will play a similar formation because that did well for them last season. But the key really is the personnel. They've signed so many players; they're really stacked in all positions, really. But in terms of quality, I'm not too sure. They've got Sarr, they've got Cucho Hernandez, they've brought back from loan. They've got João Pedro, who did really well, who's probably injured. Josh King, obviously, they signed, who's probably injured. Troy Deeney.
Ashley Fletcher, I didn't realise from Middlesbrough.
Yeah, such a random Watford signing that is. I mean, they don't.
Danny Rose there as well now.
Danny Rose, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do, but I think they've got pace and trickery in forward position, so there could be a problem on the counter. They could catch us by surprise. Sarr, especially, I think, is obviously the key man for them. I think Cucho Hernandez is a bit of a wild card as well. I think he could be a really good player. But we'll see. I don't think Troy Deeney will make an appearance because he was probably one of the worst players in the Championship last season. So
fast words there.
I know, yeah. We'll see. He'll probably come on and score a hat-trick, but I guess we'll see. But I think for me, I was reading a bit of Watford fans forum, and they're not positive at all. They're really worried because Will Hughes and Chalobah are in their last years of their contract and looking for moves. So that's unsettled them quite a lot. And so they've brought in a few different random players. So I guess we'll see. Etebo from Stoke City, who was pretty poor in the Premier League before, but then it seems to have done pretty well in pre-season. So who knows? I mean, like I said, they're unknown quantity. They could all gel and be really good, or they could be terrible and just explode. It's one of those.
It's just a bizarre mishmash of players. I don't know whether I should be worried or not, because I genuinely playing a newly promoted team, Dole, and it is a trip into the unknown, isn't it? But I think out of the three newly promoted sides, they're the one I'd pick to play.
Yeah, I mean, at home, I'd have been fairly confident. Then our away record last season was so good, but that was mainly without fans. So I think it'll be a different scenario this season for sure. I watched bits of Watford last season. I know they're a kind of club that are a little bit chaotic, and they don't suffer fools when it comes to their management. So it'd be interesting to see how they go really. But I think, yeah, as Omar was saying, a lot of the fans have been saying this is probably the weakest squad they've had going into a Premier League season. And yeah, there's only very few Watford players I could rhyme off. But does Ben Foster? Is Ben Foster still?
I think he's second choice now, possibly.
Yeah, Bachmann. Yeah, for Foster got injured last season, so Bachmann came in and he did really well and linked with Arsenal as well.
He played in the Euros, didn't he?
Although everyone's linked with Arsenal, aren't they? So yeah, maybe we'll sign him. I don't know, but
it'll be a tough game. They'll be up for it. I've never been to Vicarage Road, so it'll be one to take off the list. But atmosphere wise, I don't know what the atmosphere is like at the club. I don't know. I know for a fact that we've experienced it when there's a bit of disconnect between the fans and the owners and the players, then things can get a little bit out of hand. But I don't know what the kind of situation is with Watford and their fans and the owners and the manager, etc. But
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, so listen, it'll be a tough game. They're all tough. So I spoke to Steve Parish on Sunday because Palace played Watford in the pre-season, and he said, I was like, any tips, any hints? And he sort of pretty much said, well, it's hard to tell in pre-season, but they looked a little bit disjointed, but whether or not.
Tell you what, that was not what he said on the text message I saw. I'll let you continue.
Well, he said they're a little bit disjointed, but so we'll see what we get on Saturday. But our first three fixtures, you couldn't really have asked for a better three. When you got Watford, Newcastle, and Brentford, you'd like to be thinking if we're going to be a serious top half team, then we need to be getting three out of three here. So Yeah, let's hope we can continue. You know, we had a great away record last season, and let's hope we can carry on where we left off.
We had a great start to last season as well,
Yeah.
didn't we, Omar? It really set us on our way. You saw that just carrying that bit of positive momentum. I mean, who knows what would have happened if it hadn't been for all the COVID stuff, but it kind of alleviates any fear and worry straight away, doesn't it, getting off to that good start? And like Dolan says, you look at the fixtures and you think there is a chance to gain some early momentum again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was such if you look back at the season now, that start completely changed our season, really. Made a massive difference, because without that start, who knows where we'd have finished. But I suppose that doesn't matter. It's a 38 game season, so whether you get the points at the beginning or at the end, it doesn't really matter. But we've got, Dolan's right, we've got a real good advantage here now, an opportunity here now to push up early part of the season and do well. But I don't want to be pessimistic, but I am slightly concerned with our pre-season. I know most clubs have been affected with games being cancelled, but I think for us, with Jack going, with Dino being in isolation for 10 days, and injuries to Buendia and Watkins and things like that, Bailey coming in a bit late, it's not far from ideal. So I think fans need to be a little bit patient. Don't expect us to go all guns blazing from the start. I think there'll be one of those where we have to grind out results. And Watford at home, they had the best home record in all in the top 4 leagues last season. So that's something to be said for them as well. So I don't expect an easy ride on Saturday, but I think we should win. And I expect us to do well in the first 3 games. But it may be that kind of game where we try and grind out a result. Maybe a bit of quality from Buendia or Watkins or Ings is going to be the difference in those kind of games until we get going, until the likes of Bailey come in and we start gelling together and getting that sort of formation. Because if we are going to play a new formation, obviously it's going to take time for players to bed into that system as well, because they've been so used to playing this sort of 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 formation as well. So I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being just a little bit cautious, I think, for the first 3 games. And I think I'd urge all fans to be a little bit cautious as well in terms of patience more than anything else.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm trying to think what the team will be. I mean, obviously at the time we're doing this live now, we don't know what's going on with Watkins. We haven't heard anything. I believe Buendia's back in training, so I'd expect him to play on Saturday with that in mind. But you can pick the back 5 picks itself. Obviously, we know what that's going to be. But I'm just trying to think. Would you possibly see 3 at the back if you've got a few attacking players missing? Would you see Tuanzebe play? I'm just trying to think what we would do. I think McGinn and Camber's in midfield, but then what's in front of that? I'm not really sure. El Ghazi on the left, I would presume. But Dice has got a chance of starting, I would say.
I think it all boils down to Watkins. If he's fit, I think we're going to go 4-4-2. And if he's not fit, I think we're going to play very similar to what we played last season. Probably Buendia as a number 10, Nakamba, McGinn, and then it'll be a toss up between either El Ghazi, Traore, or Badis.
Yeah. Traore hasn't had much of a pre-season either. He looked very erratic when he came on. The way he looked at his erratic best Traore, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He really did. He tried to. Every time he got the ball, he tried to take on 3 or 4 players and kept losing it. So again, needs time. But if Buendia's fit, then I think I agree with Dolan. I think we'll probably see a 4-4-2, and I wouldn't mind that, because Buendia will naturally come inside. Ghazi probably wouldn't be first choice. Would probably be Leon Bailey or.
I think he trusts El Ghazi now. I think El Ghazi's sort of. I think he trusts him. I mean, we spoke about Ghazi's sort of tracking back and his defensive side of the game, which I think he's really improved on. But I think with his numbers last season, it's kind of hard not to play him. And again, you look at set pieces and the guy never misses a penalty. He never misses a penalty. So
penalties are out of this world.
So if you're looking at weapons from a set piece and potential penalties, then El Ghazi starts for me, and he deserves to start, because, like I said, his numbers last season were very, very impressive. So yeah, I think it all boils down to Watkins. I think if Watkins is fit, I think we go 4-4-2, and if Watkins isn't fit, then I think we'll see something similar to last season. With Buendia, and then I think, as you said, Dan, I think Badis might start. But again, Traore's done well when he's played. He's had a good season. I thought he was very strong for his debut season as well, and I think Smith trusts him as well. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes with.
Yeah, we've got the 9 subs now. I don't know whether people are watching this one. We've got announced yesterday you're allowed 9 subs. I mean, have we got 9 subs?
No,
At the moment, with players out, there's going to be there could be some right surprises on the bench, couldn't there?
Yeah, that's probably why we haven't seen players like Gilbert and Hurahan go back out on loan or move on, because I think he's obviously going to use these guys, and I think having the likes of Conor Hurahan on the bench, if you got 9 subs, a bit like NFL, you throw him on in the last 5-10 minutes, and with set pieces, he's a master. So I think our whole game plan is going to change now with having, is it Austin McPhee, the new set piece coach?
Yeah, and he will not have been impressed with what he saw on Saturday.
No.
On Sunday, sorry, because let me tell you, obviously we conceded one from a set piece, and some of the deliveries were horrendous.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see a different mindset in terms of tactics, terms of substitutions, because I know Smith spoke a lot about throw-ins as well. He's going to really look at sort of throw-ins as a set piece.
We've been bad at throw-ins ever since I've been going down.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a different mindset and a different philosophy. So I think the 9 subs, it suits us, and we'd certainly have enough players in the squad to fill the bench. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'd be good for the likes of Chukwuemeka, won't it? The 9 subs, because it means more often than not he'll probably be on the bench.
Yeah, definitely, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big part to play this season. Not in terms of starting games, but being a regular sub, which I think is good for his development. I think he's one player I wouldn't look to loan out. I think he needs to be part.
No, he won't go. He won't go.
I think, and plus, if we want to keep him, obviously, because I think October time is when we want him to sign a new contract. So we want him to be involved in the first team as much as possible, because there'll be other teams sniffing around. And again, he looks an exciting player. So again, gives us another option. We're not talking about him really.
No, it's a good point, because I was going to say, like, we speak about lack of midfielders. I forgot about Jacob Ramsey as well, and
Sanson as well.
And I think I said him, but yeah, I think does Chukwuemeka play? Is he kind of like a
10,
more like
10?
More like a 10, yeah. I would say more like a 10. He can play 8 as well, but I think for the Premier League, I think it might be a bit too much for him. But I think
it's just because of his size, isn't it? You assume he's going to be he could be a good DM, but he's so silky, he carries the ball so well. He's an out and out 10 for me.
It seems to be an attribute that we're looking at for CDM as well, though, because this link with Decore, this link with Pepe Sarr, these types of players that we're looking at. We're looking almost like a player who's very good defensively, but also can carry the ball from midfield. Anguissa is one player, is fantastic at dribbling.
I would say though, are any of those links true? Because we know, we're pretty certain we've been chasing Ward-Prowse all summer. In fact, I am certain we've been chasing Ward-Prowse all summer, and we haven't managed to do the business with Southampton. Then we've walked up, clicked our fingers, and got Danny Ings, which is a bit strange. But they're very, very reluctant to lose Ward-Prowse. But he's not the type of midfielder that we've been talking about that we need. Yet he seems to be the one that we've been after. So all the midfielders you've just reeled off, Omar, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different. It's a difficult one. I mean, James Ward-Prowse, the defensive stats are underrated. To be honest, he's still very good defensively.
Physicality, isn't it? That's what we want.
Physicality is he's more of a player who intercepts balls or sort of nods the ball away from a player more than anything else. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the links are because the Villa fans want that physical presence. Maybe Dean Smith. Dean Smith has not historically never really played with a physical.
No, I think if it's Brentford side, Woods was the deepest, wasn't it?
Even Warsaw, he played with very similar types of midfielders. They're sort of busy midfielders, energetic midfielders, but who are good technically. So I would love, and I'm sure most Villa fans would love a physical presence. But whether we get that or not, I guess we'll see. But if James Ward-Prowse isn't one, then the only other player similar to that is Harry Wiggs, and I wouldn't like to see him. So I don't really know. We definitely need a midfielder, and it was the priority signing, and we haven't signed that person yet. So for me, I think it's a gaping hole. If we don't sign a midfielder, yes, we could carry on with the players that we've got, and we've got enough midfielders there. But I think it's going to really dampen what we can do this season if we don't get that player in.
I guess we know with this board as well, they're so switched on, and they like to spend the money in the right way. I mean, they will spend the money if they have to. They've absolutely shown that, but they've also shown that if they can't get the kind of player that they want, they will wait. So there's every chance we could be going in with what we've got in midfield. I think we'll 100% sign one more player, and then I think if something really, really interesting comes up towards the end of the window, I think we'll get that second player in. But you could easily look at it as well and say we might not get anyone else, and would both of you be happy with that?
Yeah, I would. And I think you speak about waiting for players. I think we'll get Campbell next season as well. I think Campbell will come. I think when we've been, sniffing around him, I think we're just showing interest. I think it would be highly unfair to take Cantwell and Buendia, as well as Ings and Ward Prowse.
I don't see that happening. You've said in a year, haven't you? It won't
Yeah,
happen this summer.
yeah. I mean, either in January or next summer. Something will happen with Cantwell for sure. I can see him being at Villa next year. But yeah. I mean, listen, we can sit here all day and we can talk about what we need and talk about players and this and that. Those guys know what they're doing. Perslow, Smith, scouts, head of recruitment, Johan Lang. Yeah, even the owners, like these guys are like they're proper kind of best in class, as we say, at their individual roles. And I have nothing but trust. They can, whatever they decide to do, I will back fully. And I'm more than happy if we don't sign another player. I'm more than happy because my thing was we need a striker and we need for me the main priorities were another striker and cover at centre back, and that's been addressed, and the rest. So if we don't sign anybody else, then for me it's still another 10 out of 10 window.
Yeah. Obviously, you and myself, Omar, we did a show on the busiest day in Aston Villa history last week. I think it was Thursday with all the signings, and we didn't really talk about Tuanzebe because it hadn't gone through. But how pleased are you to see him come in and replace Engels? Because essentially he's replaced someone who didn't play a minute of football last season.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's a no-brainer from Villa's perspective. Tuanzebe, he's played at Villa, he knows the club, he's adored by fans, he's an excellent player. He's had injury problems, of course, but for a player like him to come in and be there as a backup to Konza and can play right back and play centre midfield as well, it's so the depth is amazing there. We haven't had that kind of depth at centre back for a long time. From his perspective, it's a bit of a weird one for me because obviously I imagine he wants to play games. So I'd imagine a move to Newcastle probably would have been more suited. But
there must have been some guarantees in some respects.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, it's a long season. There's cup games and everything, and we were lucky that neither Konza or Mings got injured last season. Likewise with Watkins as well. With Ings coming in as well. So you can never say never with especially playing a centre back. The players played through pain barriers, I'm sure. So I think it's important to have that cover, and I'm sure he will get minutes. But I hope we've got something there to sign him permanently because I think he's an excellent player.
Me too.
But I guess we'll see. But I mean that we're stacked now in defence, I think, and right back we talked about. Yes, I mean Gilbert is a downgrade from Cash, but I think he can do a job. Whether he stays, I don't know. But Kessler's out on loan. I think he's the long term backup or long term right back for us anyway. So I think Tuanzebe is an excellent signing. It makes sense. It's a no-brainer for us. So, I just saw the comment there, 5 million loan fee to Tuanzebe. Apparently, that was a rumour. I'm not sure about that, but
he'll be covering wages as well. It'll be 5 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think these days, £5 million for someone of his quality. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm not saying it's expensive, but it is on the high side. But it isn't terrible business.
If you sign him on a 5-year contract,
yeah, you pay 25
million. We got it for the season. It's 5 million with his wages. I think that's pretty standard nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like the we've shifted away from this mentality where we had in the first season where we won't buy players on loan. So we won't get players in on loan because short term thinking. But we need that with FFP as well. That deal allows us to then spend big on a midfielder now and gives us room. Whether we do this in this window or next window, I guess we'll see. But for me, I don't want to talk about 10 out of 10 window. I think for me it's probably 8 out of 10 at the moment. I think if we get that midfielder, then it'll be 10 out of 10. Which considering we've lost Jack is, I mean, the owners and Perslow and all these transfers, I think, have the hallmarks of Rob McKenzie as well. This is what he does. He, his job and Langer's job will be to develop these players, sell them for an inflated fee, and then replace them and build the squad better with players that can do jobs in different areas that will replace the attributes that they have. And that's what we're doing. And that's the way you build a sustainable football club. So it's great to see. It's great to see us being run properly, and hopefully, fingers crossed that the fruits of the labour, come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think on that, we're not. I think the frustration for me back in the day when we lost Barry, Young, Milner, and Downey, etc. We were a selling club back then. We're not a selling club. We're just not a selling club. End of story. So, £100 million. I think to get our assets off us now, you're going to have to pay some serious money, and like everyone's got a price, but the big thing for me is we are not a selling club, and the only way for us is up and up and up. And yeah, these guys are another level.
And we've got the other thing that separates us from everyone else is we've actually got owners with money. We've got money. You know, COVID's affected Premier League teams even in an awful lot of ways. I mean, the Championship's a completely different ballgame now. There's no money there unless you've recently been relegated at all. But you know, Omar, Premier League teams, not many people can afford to go out and spend money, and we could before we sold a player for £100 million.
Yeah, and exactly, and you know, we talked about FFP last time, and I think if FFP wasn't there, the owners would even spend more. To be honest, I don't think they're restricted by funds. I think, you know, we're in a buyer's market. Let's not forget as well, which is an advantage for us because, you know, lots of players are out there that want to move. They haven't moved yet. Clubs want money in. They want income in, and as the market goes on, as the window goes on, I think you might see some good deals to be had, and I think Villa are there to take advantage of that, which is probably why we haven't bought a midfielder yet. We can take advantage. Yeah, exactly. We took advantage of it in January. We took advantage of it with Santon. We took advantage of it last summer. You know, apart from Man City, you know, there's not been any owners that put more into their club in the last 10 years than Aston Villa. And obviously with the recent documentary that's come out, I think about what went on in the previous regime, I think we can only be glad and thankful for that. But I think the key really now is, you know, we want a sustainable football club. We want to be able to do that. And Dolan's completely right. You know, we're only going to sell players if it's going to be for the right fee. And then we know we can build on the back of that and continue to progress. And that's the key.
Can I just say, do you know what's really frustrating is when people are saying Villa are spending the Grealish money already when we're not. As Omar said, we would be spending, this is the way these guys operate anyway. We're with or without Jack Grealish going for £100 million. You know, again, I wish the media and some of the fans would actually do the research before they start talking about Aston Villa, because, you know, we are not spending the Jack Grealish money. End of story. So that's a bit of a bugbear of mine. We have the money. We're absolutely minted. We're owned by some of the, you know, elite businessmen in the world. So that's been a bit of an annoyance of mine, you know. But yeah, I just thought I'd get that off my chest.
Well, luckily for us, in the last couple of weeks, I seem to have been asked to be on every show possible. So I'm going around and saying stuff like that. So I'm trying to get the message out there that Villa is serious and there's some serious financial power and clout at our football club and behind our owners. Omar, you touched on it there. The Men Who Sell Football documentary on Al Jazeera investigations yesterday. Watched it myself this morning, bringing back some. I'm laughing because I look back at some of the stuff that happened now. I mean, we're in such a good position that you can look back at it and laugh, but it could have been so different.
I mean, the key really is look at Derby. I think that's key. Look at that sliding doors moment right there in terms of playoff. But even the season before, you know, thank you, Steve Bruce, and thank you, Tom Kearney, because without you two, there's no way that we would be where we are now. And it was, as Dolan said, it was a blessing in disguise. We lost that playoff final because it allowed the financial problems that we were in to come to the forefront and allowed us to get new owners. And I suppose, you know, what's happened there, whether Tony Gio was front, which possibly he was, you know, I don't disagree that maybe he had an affinity for the club and wanted to do the best for the club, but, you know, whether he was a paid actor or whatever. And the Samuelson fella, you know, there was lots of people there worried about him. And I think those worries are, you know, warranted now, looking back in hindsight. I think we as fans, you know, it's the same, you know, we want the best for the club. We have to be optimistic. So when Zia came in, when he was tweeting and we were spending money left, right and centre, we were thinking, oh, great, you know, we're building a club again. But in reality, it's probably the wrong way to go about it.
But in all fairness to Jay and those guys, like, it's kind of what we needed, you know, because the club was like, in terms of the whole Twitter thing, you know, it kind of galvanized all the fans, really, if that in a really weird way, you know. And it brought the fans a lot closer to the club, and it's kind of what the fans needed was that.
It did boost us in some strange ways.
It did in a very weird way. It's what we needed at that moment, and you know, again, like the players we had in that first season and even in the second season, like, you know, we should have gone straight up automatic.
Definitely the second season.
Especially the second season. But you know, I look more at Lerner and how we got into that mess. in terms of Steve Hollis being, being the man that sold us off to whoever it was, Salmonson, Gia, who knows?
I mean, I've interviewed Steve Hollis.
Yeah.
Essentially, the guy was just doing his job, and they passed the EFL test.
And
So I heard Hollis.
I heard the podcast, and he comes across as a good guy. But again, I'm hoping this documentary can unearth some things, because I'm sure there's some really rotten owners out there. There's some, look at Leeds. There's been some owners over the years that are just horrendous. Notts County, look at Notts County. I mean, they're non-league now, and it's so sad. It's so sad. Bolton. I mean, there's so many teams that you could list off. That Portsmouth, Sunderland. I mean, just the list at Sheffield Wednesday. The list goes on.
Very robust.
I suppose one thing that Tony Gia did well was sell to.
And that's it. Yeah,
we are so lucky. It's unbelievable.
I don't know how he did it. And you look at whoever owned the club at that time. Someone needs a pat in the back, because Lerner sold it to those absolute frauds. But the frauds that we had sold it to Nissi Suarez and Wesley Easons, which is very strange how you can sell to somebody that impressive. So if there's a legacy, there's not much legacy there, but for them to do what they did and to get in the owners that we have now, and the CEO that we have and the management, et cetera, is I mean, it's mad how the shift, how the seas change, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry about Dan. I completely agree with Dolan around Randy Lerner, because I remember at the time when we were looking to sell, he was looking to sell the club for a few years, and there was various rumours, and there was a document that went out, which was a tender document to sell the club, and I remember speaking to Trevor Birch. I was working at BDO at the time, and obviously Trevor Birch now is a well-known person, but at the time there he'd only been known for saving clubs like Chelsea, and he was saying at the time that the price was too high and there's not going to be anyone looking to bid because Villa were on a downward spiral, and Randy Lerner wanted too much. And I think obviously what happened was he just took the offer that was the best for him, and he didn't really think about the club at the time, which for Tony Gia, for everything, all the bad things he did, and whether it was him or whoever it was behind him, the one thing you can thank him for is selling to Eden Suarez, and it's a very small thank you, obviously, because I don't think people realize how close we were to going out of business. There was, I was involved in a little bit. There was this big scramble, and literally it was hours away from going under. It was a big scramble to get money in, to get investors to just plough a couple of million quid in just to save the club, to pay the bill. Otherwise, we would have gone under. And there was I won't go into too much detail, but Howard Hodgson is one Villa fan that Villa fans can thank, I think, big time. He's talked about it in another podcast, but he played a massive part in helping us keep our football club. And we were so close to not having an Aston Villa and having to start all over again.
Yeah, he's a really, really good guy, Howard. I've got a lot of time for him personally, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I think, as I say, you look back at it now and laugh. I mean, you two both know some of the stories of some of the stuff that happened to me around that time. I mean, it's definitely the best thing that they're not there anymore, but I do miss having the Villa owner sliding into my DMs on a regular basis to ask my opinion on things. When I look back at that now, I should have known that the football club was in trouble when I'm getting asked my opinion on what's going on. There must have been some serious problems behind the scenes if they thought I was the best sounding board. So we should probably do a podcast on it at some point, because honestly, you sound like you've got some stories, Omar. I've got so many stories that people wouldn't believe. It's just a crazy year for me, that second season, that absolute madness, some of the things that happened. So one day I will talk about it. I have to go through my phone, because there was some absolute joke stuff that was happening. Right then, before we go, let's finish with our hopes and dreams section. Let's do our predictions. I mean, I did predictions yesterday for the Premier League on my Who Scored podcast, and I'm bound to have got tons of things wrong, but I did predict Villa to finish 7th. What did you both think?
Omar, go ahead. You go first.
I went 7th as well, actually. I think we can be the best of the rest. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's me being ambitious. But then again, I said top 10 last season, and any other season we would have got top 10 with that points tally. So I think there's no reason why we can't do that.
No, there's definitely reasons to be optimistic. Dolan?
I'm going 6th.
Ooh.
I'm going 6th. I'm going 5th or 6th. But let's go 6th.
I'm looking forward to 5 p.m. Saturday when you tell me we're no better than mid-table.
I'll be probably 10 cans deep, so it'll not matter. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to big myself up too much, but I called the relegation scrap in the first season. I said top 12. I said top 12 last season, and I'm going sixth. I'm going sixth this season. Again, we spoke about it at the show. Like, what club?
The hat trick.
But what club has really invested in their squads?
They will. Teams will. They'll get twitchy before the end of the window.
Yeah, but we know what happens when clubs get twitchy. They sign their own players, Like, we've been, again, so measured. And I just think, yes, City have spent 100 million. Chelsea are going to spend 97, whatever it is, but it's on one player. We're buying strength and depth and quality all over the pitch. So I fancy us to be the best, the highest placed team in the Midlands as well. I think we'll overtake Leicester this season.
That's a big shot. I had Leicester down as fifth. I think that's a massive, massive shot. I think they'll probably just finish fifth again, Leicester, for the third season running. Top scorer, Omar, Wesley, Keenan. Who are you going for?
No, Danny Ings, I reckon. 16 goals I've gone for.
Exactly the same as me. Exactly the same.
Watkins close behind as well.
Yeah, nice to have two goal scorers, isn't it, Dolan? Who do you think is going to win that race between the two of them?
Because you've said Ings, I'm going to go Watkins.
It's clever.
Because Ings can drop a little deeper at times. I think I'll probably change my mind on the last day of the season. No, I think I'll go Watkins just because I just think he's a machine. I just think he's going to get better and better and better and better. And I know it was only against Walsall in the first game of the season, but he just looked leaner and meaner. And I just think he's, and the confidence as well. I mean, to do what he did in his debut season, coming from where he came from, Exeter, Brentford, the price tag, and I thought he was unbelievable. And he's going to be playing with better players. He's got better players around him as a unit, and players that are going to get better because, again, the team's had another season to gel. And I just think he's going to be. I think he'll be starting for England as well. I think he'll be in that England squad as a regular, no doubt about it.
I mean, to be fair, the players that we've signed, I do think they actually help Watkins. I think they suit his game. I think Buendia and Ings pressing along with him, I think that would really help him. Player of the year, Omar.
I'm going to go for Konza.
Konza?
Yeah.
Speaks for itself, really. Dolan?
You go, and then I'll go.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Buendia because I think Villa fans are going to be quite taken by surprise by, one, his feisty side, and two, his pressing side, and with his skills as well. I think he's just a player that Villa fans are absolutely going to love. So I'm going to go Buendia.
I was going to go Martinez, but I hope he isn't as busy as he was last season. So I'm going to go with Leon Bailey.
Nice.
Pace. Villa fans like pace. We've not had much of that over the last few years.
Adama 2.0. I think we're gonna see
with more end product, hopefully. I mean, he's shown he's got end product in the Bundesliga, so you'd expect him to do the same in the Premier League. I'm gonna come to you first this time, Dolan, because you're shirking listening to what everyone else said. Young player of the year.
Probably gonna go with Bedens.
Gonna have to learn his name by the end of the show.
Bedens. But it just depends. Is there an age limit up until what age?
It's 22,
23, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. What age is Buendia?
Good question. I think it's about 24, 25.
24, 25. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Bedais and Chukwuemeka as close second.
I love the fact we've got a player called Bedais and a player called Chukwuemeka. Yeah, it's Bedais is the one that you're struggling to pronounce. Chukwuemeka is absolutely fine, but Bedais, no, thank you. Can't do that. What about you?
Well, I was going to go for Chukwuemeka, but I've been quite impressed with Jacob Ramsey, to be honest. I always thought he might go out on loan, but he seems to have put on some muscle and looks bigger. Quite big, like looks physically ready for Premier League football. Yeah. It looks good. So I don't know. It's between them two, but I think Jacob Ramsey might nick it. I think maybe he'll have a part to play.
I'm gonna go for Kana. Chukwuemeka, player I really like. I think he'll probably get more football than we think he will at times because he wants to play, because he'll have big clubs circling around him like the Bundesliga teams do if he's not near the team. He was first off the bench, well, except for Jedster. He was first outfielder off the bench on Sunday, which was quite encouraging. As soon as Watkins went injured, it was Carney who was chucked.
Listen, I think the fact that Smith, I know those last 2 games against Chelsea and Spurs weren't much to play for, but I think the fact that Smith put him on in those 2 games when we were in the lead as well, I think was just to see his kind of test the character and strength of character. And listen, he could have scored the winner against Tottenham as well. He came close just off the post, but I think he's one to watch. And again, you just think about the youngsters that we have. I like Brad Young. I'd like to see Brad Young get some football. I think he looks.
9 subs, mate. Louis Barry's gone on loan. It's not unheard of that he'll be on the bench at the weekend.
Yeah, and just that the confidence and swagger to take the penalty the way he took it in the Youth Cup final. I just think the guy's got something about him. He's got a bit about him. And Brad Potts, as Tommy called him. So yeah, so much amazing young talent to pick from.
Yeah, and finally, are we going to win any cups?
Yes.
Yes. Which one are we going to win, Omar? Not the Premier League.
We're going to win the FA Cup. I believe the one cup that everyone wants us to win, because I've seen us win 2 League Cups. I haven't seen us win anything else. But I think the fans older than us who've seen us win the European Cup, have seen us win the First Division, a League Cup. I've never seen us win the FA Cup, so I think that's the one that everyone wants us to win. But for me, I think cups, I'd rather finish like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Win a cup.
When you look back, or you think, when I look back, I don't think about the team that finished 4th or finished 5th. I think about the team that won the League Cup. That's where I look back on. That's what I have fond memories of, and that's what I want us to be doing.
I mean, you've forgotten about the Intertoto Cup, the Peace Cup, and the Cup of Traditions there, Omar. But yeah, it's been a while since.
And the playoff final. There's a cup.
I don't count that. I definitely don't count that. But I will count the Cup of Traditions. I will definitely count that one. But I don't count the playoff cup for some reason.
Emirates Cup will be next season.
Emirates Cup. Dolan, what do you say? Cup winner?
No, I don't think we will. We will. Yeah, I'd like us to, but I just if I'm gonna go for a cup to win, I think the one we will win will be the League Cup. But I just don't see us. I just think we're going all guns blazing for that top 6. I just think that's the focus. We're going all guns blazing for top 6 and for Europe. And I think the club, a bit like Man City, that they want to win the Champions League. They're not pretty bothered on the.
They don't you, Man City, because they take all the bloody cup seriously.
Yeah,
a lot of big sides don't. They do.
Really, really just want to get into Europe. Once we're in Europe,
it gets you in Europe. It does get you in Europe.
Yeah, true. But no, I don't think we will. I think we'll be aiming for that top 6, and I think if we do win a cup, it'll be the League Cup. And there's some big teams. Blues won tonight, Derby won tonight, Stoke won tonight. So there'll be
some big teams, and then rail off the name Blues straight after.
Couple of tasty, in terms of teams to play for us.
Okay.
I think the draw's on Wednesday. I think the draw's tomorrow.
Yeah. Bellingham's 15-year-old brother was on the bench for Blues tonight, wasn't he? The number 39 shirt, that'll be retired in the next 10-15 minutes. So I would have thought the shirt won't be seeing a number 39 for Blues again. I'm going to say, you know what? It might even just be the FA Cup semi-final, but I think we've got used to having a Wembley day over the last few seasons. We skipped it the year that we couldn't have any fans in. They've been waiting for us to come back. So even if it's an FA Cup semi-final, I think that'll be a trip to Wembley at some point during the season.
Yeah, well, the last time I saw you was the cup final.
Yeah, so the last time I saw a lot of people. To be perfectly honest, it's been a strange 18 months, hasn't it? But I think that will do us
on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that will do us for the first podcast, our new venture, the podcast back at the Villa View, the pod that's been named by someone that wasn't me, because I don't remember giving that the okay.
Big up to Adam and Cole.
Yeah, the stuff looks
looking
good.
Smooth. It's looking nice.
The stuff looks good.
Looking really nice. So well done,
Big up to Luke as well for continuing to sponsor us and continuing to give us the 20% off code. If you use that code, which is TVV20, you will get 20% off most items on the website. For those of you that missed it, Omar and myself did a transfer show last week. There's a lot of relevant information still in there. And I was at Villa Park last week to do a preview with Tommy Elphick and Ian Taylor. I mean, not for what I say, but from what them two say, it's an interesting listen. So yeah, go back and check that out. Production value, not that great because I was enjoying
Even I watched it. I watched it all, and I don't tend to watch a lot of those things. I watched it all. I thought it was excellent.
You only watched it because Tommy Alford's your best friend instead of James Chester now. That's the only reason you watched
it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, if it wasn't for me, Tommy wouldn't have been doing that. So that's another thing. That's fine.
Another name drop.
Yeah. Oh, I was already there. There was a sly little dig at Dolan there. Hopefully, I mean, just in there that Richard Ryan's enjoyed tonight's podcast. Yeah, we're going to make this a weekly thing. The day and the time might vary slightly because of Dolan's hashtag lifestyle. But yeah, we'll be doing one pod a week, the three of us. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. There will be a Purity post-match point. Obviously now, they're not going to be straight after the game most of the time. I wouldn't think so. It'll be the day after. Keep an eye on our socials and we'll let you know when that's coming on Sunday. So, yeah, hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. Hopefully we all enjoy the game on Saturday as well. It'd be great to have the fans back in the stadium and up the Villa.
The Villa. Come on.